Every survey I take unveils a sinister truth. One answer curses someone to a spine-chilling death. The fluorescent lights flickered eerily in the grocery store as Sarah stood in line, her heart racing. The chatter around her faded into whispers, an unsettling undercurrent of tension hanging in the air. "Did you hear about the Johnsons? Tom's dead," one woman hissed, glancing nervously over her shoulder. Sarah's stomach dropped. The Johnsons were next door, friends in this seemingly perfect Ridgewood community. She caught fragments of conversations, words like mysterious and online survey, prickling her skin like 1,000 tiny needles. The moment she returned home, Ethan nestled safely in bed. She snagged her phone and impulsively clicked on the survey advertisement. Breathless, she told herself it was just harmless fun. The first question flashed across the screen. "What's your favorite childhood memory?" A gulp lodged in her throat. It felt odd, like the air had suddenly thickened around her. The memories flowed, but as she pressed next, a chill ran down her spine. Each answer seemed to wrap tighter around her like a noose, the thrill of benign nostalgia fading into dread. The questions turned sinister. "What do you think of your neighbors? And any secrets you're willing to share?" Sent shivers down her skin. She frowned, hesitating for a moment, but the desperate weight of bills loomed larger than her instinctual fear. With a trembling finger, she tapped submit. Her heart raced as what happened next turned her world upside down. A notification pinged seconds later. Tom's death found lifeless in his living room. The police had branded it an accident, but Sarah felt the air shift around her, burdened by horrifying coincidence. Days blurred into a suffocating haze. The survey, like a dark echo, beckoned her with relentless notifications. She knew it was consuming her, filling her with obsession. Each completed survey unlocked new horrors. A local divorce steeped in betrayal, whispers of a drug deal gone wrong, and a child's tragic accident hidden behind closed doors. And just like that, each revelation was followed by another death. Another disappearance that ripped through the fabric of Ridgewood. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With each survey filled out, the tension in the neighborhood grew. Friends became distant, their smiles plastered but eyes darting, wary of hidden motives. A knock on the door left her heart pounding, breath hitching in her throat. The line between trust and betrayal blurred frighteningly. Who could she count on? The past week had twisted friendships into uncertain alliances, each neighbor wearing the mask of normalcy while harboring dark secrets. One night, as rain drummed against her window, another notification buzzed, cold and inviting. Sarah's hands trembled as she stared at the screen. A new survey awaited. Her mind raced. Which neighbor's fate would hang in the balance this time? Fear squeezed the air from her lungs. The darkness wasn't just on the screen. It crept, suffocating, into her very life. She hesitated, knowing that answering this question could unleash horrors beyond her worst nightmares. What unspeakable truth awaited her reply? And could it seal Ethan's fate along with her own? The notification glowed ominously on her screen. As Sarah stared, the world around her faded to silence. Rain pattered gently on the glass, a soft, unnerving rhythm. She felt as if the entire universe held its breath. Was she ready to dig deeper into this abyss? She had danced on the edge of a knife too many times already. Ignoring the nagging voice in her head, she tapped the screen. The first question appeared. Who do you trust the most? It was loaded, insidious. Who, in this town where fate had shown itself to be a cruel puppeteer, could she truly trust? In the shadow of Tom's death, any answer felt like a betrayal. A memory flickered. The last barbecue at the Johnsons' house where laughter danced through the air, now replaced with chilling reminders of the grave. Should she say Mark, their neighbor who always brought over the best steaks? Or perhaps Lisa, who had once stayed with her while Ethan had a rough flu. Each name held a weight, a haunting echo of camaraderie mirrored by the fear of losing something precious. As she wavered, Ethan's sleep-fuzzed voice called out from the room, breaking through the veil of dread. "Mommy? What's wrong?" The innocence in his tone drew Sarah's gaze, a lifeline in the darkness. She couldn't let this curse seep into his life. Her heart warred between wanting to protect him fiercely and the desire to absolve her own fear. In a moment born of panic, she swiped to the next question, bypassing the previous one. It blared like an alarm on her screen. "What do you know about the people in your life?" Adrenaline surged as she realized the implications behind it. They all had secrets, shameful, dark truths. But confessing anything felt like spilling blood over a fragile truce. Glimpses of familiar faces swept through her mind. Neighbors, friends, even casual acquaintances. Who among them might hold the knife that could plunge into her back or her son's heart? Each click sparked a flicker of betrayal within her. She let out an involuntary shudder as she pressed next, trembling under the weight of the curse hanging over them. As her fingers trembled, the questions evolved, spiraling deeper into the macabre. "Have you witnessed a crime?" The words latched onto her throat, constricting her ability to breathe. Yes, she thought. The fights in the alley behind their homes, the hushed whispers riddled with fear. But to expose that truth? Outing the sins of her own seemed impossible. The screen erupted with a final notification, each pulse of her heart sinking with the dread washing over her. "You have one last chance to save a life. Choose wisely." Panic threaded through her thoughts like poison, squeezing her lungs tight. Desperation clawed at her. Save who? Who could she throw into the path of the monstrous fate that loomed? Would revealing a secret save someone in her midst or condemn them to death? As if listening intently, the wind howled outside. Shadows flickered across the walls, taunting her with their ghostly embrace. All logic dimmed in the face of impending doom. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting against the onslaught of terror that threatened her sanity. This was more than just a survey now. This was choosing a shard of discord, slicing through lives, and just as her finger hovered over the screen, she froze. Deep in her gut, an instinct roared ominously. It wasn't only her world teetering on the edge. The fate of Ridgewood could very well rely on the answer she chose. What lay waiting for her to uncover? And could she live with the consequences? She pressed down on the button, bracing for the storm to unleash. The screen flickered as the weight of her choice settled on Sarah's shoulders like a suffocating blanket. As the app whirred to life, her breath quickened, sharp and shallow, like the frantic beats of her heart. Loading, the cursor spun, twisting in tandem with her racing thoughts. What would the repercussions be? Silence roared in her ears, drowning out the patter of rain that once felt so soothing. With every passing second, the shadows in the room deepened, contrasting against the light from her phone. A vibration jolted her, and the next message appeared. "You chose. Someone will pay." Her stomach twisted. What had she just done? Before she could gather her thoughts, the door creaked, and Ethan's soft footsteps padded towards her. "Mommy, what is happening?" His tiny voice, adorned with confusion, pierced through her unsettled state. In that moment, she was struck by the stark reality of their vulnerability. The innocence in his eyes reminded her of her own stark choices. "Ethan, sweetheart, why don't you go back to bed?" she called, forcing her voice to sound calm, though the chaos raged within. "I'm scared," he whimpered. It was her worst fear, exposing him to whatever darkness shadowed their lives. She let out a shaky breath, fighting the urge to reach for him, to shield him from the truth that was creeping closer. The phone vibrated again, interrupting her thoughts. This time, a map appeared on the screen, dotted with pulsing red markers. The locations flickered ominously, each one resonating with her gut. "Recipients of your choice," the message read. "One must pay tonight." "No," she whispered, her heart pounding in rhythm with the markers. Each red dot felt like a noose tightening around someone's neck. Could be Mark out drinking with the boys. Could be Lisa meeting a friend across town. It could even be someone she barely knew, an acquaintance who slipped past her consciousness. "Mommy?" Ethan's voice had an edge of panic now. She felt her nails bite into her palms as she fought the urge to scream. Panic didn't go unnoticed. Ethan stepped closer, drawing the small light from the phone into his gaze. "Please, just go back to bed," Sarah urged, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her act. Are you playing a game?" "Yeah, it's just a game," but even as she spoke, Sarah felt the lie coil around her like a serpent. The app wasn't a game. It was a curse, casting a shadow on Ridgewood as dread slithered through every street. Realizing she needed to act, she reached for the phone, ready to turn it off, but the app had other plans. The map zoomed in on one specific location, pulsing erratically in time with her heartbeat. "Target identified," it stated with chilling clarity. "You have 1 hour." "Mommy?" Ethan's fear had grown palpable, inching closer as Sarah's eyes widened in horror. "No, I won't let this happen," she shouted, fingers shaking. In her heart, she knew she had to do something drastic. Desperation clawed at her as she glanced back at the map. What if there was a way to intervene? But doing so meant risking everything, including Ethan's safety. With mere moments slipping away, she opened a chat function within the app. "How can I stop this?" she typed. No response at first, just silence. But then, another notification lit up her screen. "There is no stopping what you've unleashed. Use the power wisely or lose it all." Sarah's pulse raced. What did this mean? Could she sacrifice herself to save someone else? "Mommy!" Ethan's cry pulled her from the depths of her spiraling thoughts. But it was too late. The looming fear of what was to come knotted itself in her stomach. Time was running out and she had to make a choice. As she scanned the map, her breath hitched again. The target wasn't just anyone. It was someone she knew all too well, but what were the risks involved in saving them? Who would she sacrifice to mend the fragile thread her life had become? The clock kept ticking. Would she act, or let the horror consume her? A moment of truth awaited, and the stakes had been raised. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as Sarah's mind raced. Her eyes darted between Ethan's anxious gaze and the pulsating marker on the map. It wasn't just a random victim. It was Lisa, her best friend. The very thought of losing her sent a wave of nausea crashing over Sarah. "Mommy, what's wrong?" Ethan's small voice tore through her rising panic, drawing her back to reality. "Nothing, honey." "Really?" she lied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. Each second dragged on, the air thickening with tension. The app's chilling voice echoed in her mind. One must pay. A fleeting thought took root in her mind. Could she tell Lisa? But that would mean dragging her friend into the darkness. If Lisa knew, perhaps she'd try to stop it, or worse, put herself in harm's way. No, Sarah couldn't risk it. "Ethan, I need you to stay quiet and listen to me. Okay?" She crouched down to meet his eyes, her heart tearing at the sight of his innocent confusion. "I'll be right back. Just stay in the living room, please." Her words trembled as she hesitated, knowing she was walking a tightrope. "Promise?" he whispered, holding onto his stuffed bear, as if it could shield him from whatever horror clawed at their lives. "Promise," she whispered back, her heart sinking. The betrayal felt heavy, a dark whisper saying she was choosing between life and death. As she hurried towards the door, the app buzzed again. 45 minutes remaining, it warned, each word reverberating in her bones. She stepped out into the cool night air, rain continuing its pitiful descent. The streets appeared surreal, dim and shadowy, the glow of streetlights casting elongated shapes that danced like specters. An awkward knot twisted in her gut. Could she really save Lisa? When she reached her phone, she felt her pulse race. "How do I stop this?" she typed frantically into the app. Barely a moment later, another notification read, "The answer lies within your heart." Useless. Sarah spat, frustration amplifying her adrenaline. As her mind scrambled, a flicker of recognition crossed her mind. The last time she talked to Lisa, she mentioned meeting someone late that night. Was this part of it? Should she confront her? "Mom!" Ethan's voice pierced through her frantic thoughts. The sharpness of fear clawed at her, dragging her back. Yet something in the air shifted, darker and heavier, and her instincts screamed at her to hurry. "My God, it's real," she muttered, fear flooding her veins. As she picked up her pace and sprinted toward the designated meeting place, dread tightened like an iron clasp around her chest. Arriving at the small cafe where Lisa was supposed to meet her friend, Sarah pushed through the door. It felt like stepping into another world, the warmth a stark contrast to the chill of the rain-soaked streets outside. But her relief didn't last. Lisa sat at a booth, animatedly talking, laughter lighting up her features. But the moment Sarah's gaze landed on her, the same thrill of joy twisted into an unbearable ache. "Lisa," she hissed, collapsing into the seat across from her. Lisa froze, surprise flooding her face. "Sarah, what's wrong? We don't have time," she warned, glancing over her shoulder. "You're in danger." I have to. The app buzzed violently in her pocket, but this time a different notification blared to life. "Target is approaching fast." Sarah's heart seized. Panic sprouted like wildfire as she looked around the cafe, scanning for the source of the threat. "Sarah?" Lisa's voice trembled, confusion deepening. She could feel the air tightening. The heaviness of the unseen threatened to consume them both. "We have to go. Now." But it was too late. The door swung open forcefully, and a figure stepped inside. Darkness wrapped around the tall silhouette like a cloak as Sarah's throat closed over in disbelief. Just beyond their world, the gravity of horror pressed down. Everything was about to break. Was the app controlling not just Lisa's fate, but now her own? Was there any hope of escape before someone paid the ultimate price? Questions without answers buzzed as the stranger stepped forward, leaving Sarah paralyzed at the precipice of fate. The figure advanced, an oppressive presence that sucked the warmth from the cafe. Shadows stretched from the walls as if trying to escape. Sarah's heart raced, thudding against her chest like a drum in a funeral procession. Lisa's laughter faded into icy silence, confusion replaced by fear. "Who is that, Sarah?" "I don't know," she managed to whisper, barely able to tear her gaze from the figure cloaked in darkness. It moved with an unnatural grace, gliding rather than walking, as if gravity forgot to hold it down. The patrons of the cafe grew still. Eyes widened, breaths hitched. It was as if time stood still, sealing everyone in a bubble of dread. The stranger stretched its arm out, fingers long and menacing, pointing directly at Sarah. The air between them crackled, a palpable tension surging forth like static electricity. Lisa's voice quivered, inching towards a panicked crescendo. "What do we do?" Sarah felt the walls of her sanity close in, every rational thought fleeing as adrenaline surged through her veins. "Run!" she screamed, the instinct overwhelming her. But before they could move, the figure spoke, its voice deep and echoing like a warped reflection of reality. "Your time is up. The price may now be paid." The words pierced Sarah, slamming into her chest like a physical blow. A wave of dread washed over her, cascading like cold water. "What price?" Without waiting for a response, Sarah lunged towards the door, grabbing Lisa's hand. They shoved their way through the terrified crowd, the tables and chairs a chaotic blur, but the figure remained fixed, unmoving yet omniscient, watching as they fled. They burst out into the rain-soaked street, droplets hitting their faces like needles. For a moment, they hesitated, panting heavily, the world around them alive with the sounds of water cascading and hearts pounding. "Where do we even go?" Lisa gasped, eyes darting around, panic brewing. "Somewhere, anywhere," Sarah stammered, fingers trembling around her phone. The app was a ticking time bomb, its ominous countdown echoing in her mind. "We have to figure this out. If we don't..." The app buzzed violently again, the screen flashing red. 30 minutes remaining. The decision must be made. Decision? Lisa asked, confusion spiraling into dread. "Yes. The answer lies within my heart." "What does that mean?" Sarah furiously tapped the screen. Images and memories flooded her mind: the abandoned park, whispered secrets, broken promises. Each moment felt like a ticking clock, rushing her toward an inevitable end. Suddenly, the air thickened. It felt like being watched, the breath of the figure still lingering even outside. Sarah turned to look behind them. Just within the entrance of the cafe, the silhouette remained, blending into the shadows. "Go," she urged. They sprinted down the street, the rain blurring their paths. The looming dread clung to them, like chains they couldn't break free of. But the darkness wasn't far behind them. A low hum began to vibrate through the ground, a pulse matching their racing hearts. "Sarah," Lisa shouted, panic-stricken. "What if it's coming after us?" "I don't know." They rounded a corner, breathless and desperate, ripping through the downpour, but the hum intensified, growing louder. It felt as if it were inside her, a looming whisper threatening to consume her very essence. What was the price? Who would have to pay? "Sarah." The dread in Lisa's voice snapped her to attention. "You have to decide what this means. You have to confront it." Confront what? But a chilling realization settled over Sarah. Could confronting the darkness mean facing the hidden truths in her heart? Would it cost more than she could bear? The weight of every secret she had kept, every fear, loomed large as she felt the shadows closing in again. "Sarah, hurry." Lisa's hand squeezed hers, panic penetrating deep into her skin. The figure was moving closer now, leaving darkness in its wake, roaming toward them as if they had awakened an ancient horror. The countdown was relentless desperation clawed at Sarah. Could she really reveal what she held within? Did the price mean more than just a choice? The shadows whispered through the rain, "Every answer has its cost." As they plunged deeper into the night, an eerie chill settled in their chests. The reality of the app and its implications loomed over them like an angry storm, ready to unleash its fury. Would the hidden truths bind them together or tear them apart? An unseen force began to surround them, swirling and seeping through the cracks of their resolve. Would they confront their fears before time ran out? Darkness beckoned, and Sarah could feel the first whispers of doom creeping closer. In the thick blanket of rain, the world felt impossibly small. The streets were slick with water, and every shadow warped into something sinister. Sarah's heart thudded violently against her ribs, a survivor's drumbeat drowning out logic and reason. They ducked into an alley, desperate for a moment of concealment from the figure that stalked them. "What now?" Lisa's voice was barely a whisper, panic etched into her features. "I don't know," Sarah panted. Her mind raced, grappling with the weight of the countdown. "It's all connected to the app. I can feel it." "What do you mean?" Lisa searched Sarah's face. "The answer lies within my heart." The words tasted bitter, like old regrets. "I think I have to face things I've hidden, maybe things about us." A shiver ran down Lisa's spine. But what if confronting it means losing everything? We don't have a choice. We can't keep running forever. Sarah gripped her phone tightly, the countdown ticking loudly in the silence between them. As the clock ticked down, a palpable fear hung in the air. Lisa backed against the wall of the alley, squeezing her eyes shut for a moment, as if to gather her sudden courage. Okay. Just tell me what you need from me." "I don't know yet." The ground rumbled like a warning. A deep thump echoed behind them. The figure had followed them, leaving shards of darkness in its wake. Shadows twisted unnaturally, merging into the bricks and cobblestones. Each breath felt like a challenge, the air thick with despair. "Sarah, listen." Lisa's eyes snapped open, wide with uncertainty. "Maybe it's not about just confronting the truth. Maybe we can outsmart it. We could." The app buzzed like a swarm of angry bees. 20 minutes remaining. The decision must be made. Ugh! Sarah cursed under her breath, frustration boiling over. What decision? What if it means sacrificing someone? I can't do that." But still, they had to move, and with a pull of desperation, they crept further down the alley. A weak flicker of streetlight illuminated patches of wet ground. The darkness swallowed everything else, a malevolent force growing thicker in the spaces where shadows lurked. What if it's waiting for us to decide? What if that's the price? Lisa's voice trembled as another vibration shook through the air. It was there again, the hum from before. This time it felt alive, wrapping around them like creeping vines, almost as if it were whispering their fears back to them. Sarah's breath quickened, spiraling into a rising frenzy. "Stay close," she huffed, turning to face the end of the alley. What lay beyond was shrouded in fog, uncertainty swirling with each raindrop. Again, the app buzzed violently. "The answer requires full disclosure. One truth must be shared, or souls will be claimed." What does that even mean? The price. Sarah's heart gripped tight as emotions twisted into knots. Truth or no truth? The shadows behind her threatened to swallow her whole. This isn't just about our fears. It's about what we've hidden from each other, right? Lisa's expression morphed into determination. She was ready to fight, to face whatever darkness lingered. But just as the resolve built, a chilling laugh echoed low and mocking, so close yet impossibly distant. They spun around, eyes scanning the thick darkness that lingered just beyond the dying streetlight. "There you are, Sarah. I've been waiting." The voice was warped, twisted through the air like a ghostly caress, filling Sarah with dread. Who are you?" Sarah called out into the threatening night. "Your darkest secrets are coming home to roost." The figure appeared at the mouth of the alley, a force of dread, casting its long shadow over them. The moment felt frozen in time. "Time is running out," it whispered, fingers stretching out. A surge of panic shot through Sarah. The ground trembled beneath them. Every choice, every truth, burned brighter in her mind. "Sarah," Lisa cried, terror gripping her voice. "We have to make a choice. Now. Do it." Sarah shouted, clenching her phone, the countdown flashing ominously. Shadows began to surge forward, creeping closer, hungry for a decision. In that moment of utter despair, a desperate thought bloomed. Could revealing their worst truths save them or doom them both to the darkness? "Face it, Sarah. You can't hide anymore." As the figure neared, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, the edges of her sanity fracturing. Was she ready to reveal the truth? Would it be the answer they needed, or would it lead to their demise? The answer hung in the air, heavy and foreboding, as shadows beckoned. The shadows surged forward with a weight that felt like ice on Sarah's skin. Each flicker of the dying streetlight cast grotesque shapes that danced menacingly along the walls of the alley. A chilling breeze whispered secrets, urging her to speak, to confront her buried truths before they consumed her. "Sarah." Lisa's voice broke her reverie, sharp and piercing. "It's now or never." An urgent terror raced through Sarah's veins. She clenched her fists tightly around her phone. The countdown burned in her mind, 15 minutes like a clock chime foretelling doom. "Okay," she forced out, looking deep into Lisa's eyes. "We'll do this together. No more lies." "Together," Lisa echoed, though uncertainty clung to her words. The shadows writhed, clawing at the edges of their minds, pulling at their fears. "Grab my hand," Sarah said, and the two of them linked fingers tightly. Each was a lifeline, a tether against the encroaching darkness. The figure loomed closer, the laughter echoing around them, taunting. "You think revealing your secrets will save you?" Sarah swallowed hard. "It's the only shot we have." "Very well," the figure's voice twisted. Each word dripped with malice. "Choose wisely, and reveal the truth, but know that truth has sharp edges." Suddenly, without command, Sarah blurted out, "I've been hiding from you, Lisa. I wasn't just scared about my past, I was scared of losing you because I love you." The declaration burst forth, raw and painful, yet liberating. Lisa's eyes widened, surprise mingling with fear. "What?" she managed, her breath hitching. "Beneath all of this confusion, that's what it comes down to." "But there's more." Sarah's heart raced. "I was part of this app's nexus. I created it, and I hoped to help others, but I didn't know what it would become." The momentum shifted in the air. A crackle of energy enveloped them, as if admitting that vulnerability might open a door to something terrible or freeing. "Your secret is disallowed." The figure screeched, shadows writhing around it like serpents ready to strike. You must sacrifice something to absolve your blunders. No, Lisa shouted, but the ground quaked again, splitting open beneath them. Fear clawed at their hearts. The app buzzed menacingly. Truth revealed, sacrifice demanded. One soul for another. Choose. A fog rolled in, heavy and dense, stealing their breath. The panic in Sarah's chest intensified. What does that even mean? She pulled her gaze from Lisa to the figure, which flickered in and out of existence, its form becoming indistinct among the swirling mist. Someone must pay the price for salvation. The figure hissed, slowly encroaching upon them. Its eyes cold and empty gleamed with sinister anticipation. No, no, Lisa whimpered, her grip tightening around Sarah's hand, anchoring them both in this surreal nightmare. Sarah. Lisa's voice turned frantic, splintering with desperation. You can't do this. You can't sacrifice us. It wasn't meant to be like this, Sarah argued, a mixture of anguish and urgency weighing on her words. But it's my fault. If anyone has to go, don't you dare say that. We face it together. Lisa's eyes burned with defiance, bright against the dark looming threat. Then we both die. The ground shook violently beneath them, and Sarah's heart filled with dread as the shadows crawled closer like hungry wolves. Love is stronger than this curse, Lisa shouted, tears flowing down her face as she squeezed Sarah's hand with fierce determination. But even as she said it, the shadows loomed larger, pulling them apart with a ravenous hunger. Choose, the figure demanded, its voice a chorus of tormented screams. Sarah felt the world close in, the stakes of their truth hanging by a gossamer thread. Was it a life for a life, or a choice that could save them both? With the figure about to engulf them in darkness, Sarah stammered, I must know, Lisa. Are you ready? Will you trust me? As darkness enveloped them, a heart-wrenching silence fell, and even the shadows paused. In that breathless moment, they faced the weight of a choice that could either break them or set them free. Would they stand united against the creeping despair, or would the truth tear them apart forever? Sarah's mind raced, the shadows pulsed, waiting as predictions fluttered on the edges of her consciousness. Choose, the figure hissed again, bringing them to the brink of oblivion. The air thickened, and the shadows pressed in closer, a suffocating blanket that leaned heavy against Sarah's chest. She could feel the heat from Lisa next to her, the steadiness of their hands linked together slipping into a desperate grip. Panic spiraled in her gut as sweat dripped down her brow, but amidst the terror, something flickered hope. Together, remember? Sarah whispered, almost pleading. Together, Lisa echoed, though her voice trembled. Ladies, the figure's sneer was chilling. The clock is ticking. Love is a naive anchor in a sea of darkness. The choice must be made before the final chime. It was impossible. They couldn't sacrifice each other. The idea repulsed Sarah. But the entity before them, its eyes glittering with malice, was relentless. It thrived on their fear, waiting for that moment when shadows would crack them open. Tell me, the figure hissed, its mouth twisting as if ready to consume their very words. What will it be? Make it stop, Lisa shouted, panic bubbling over. We want to choose. You can't force us. Can't I? The being tilted its head, shadows dancing around it, mocking her defiance. One will bleed for the other. That is the only way. Or the darkness takes you both. Sarah's heart raced, thoughts spiraling chaotically as she cast her eyes quickly to Lisa, who was breathing heavily, eyes wide with fear. We need to think. No time, Lisa begged, tears shining like distant stars on her cheeks. You can't. I don't want to lose you. Then we stand firm. We don't let it control us. A laugh echoed around them, sharp and grating. Stupid human emotions. Love or sacrifice, your choice is inevitable. Their world was constricting, collapse imminent. Can't we tell it something false? Lisa's suggestion floated in the mist, desperate. What if it doesn't work? What if it knows? Can it? With every tick of the unseen clock, uncertainty clawed at them. The figure shifted, a snake of darkness, each movement filled with an insatiable appetite for despair. Choose, It shrieked, a symphony of curses behind its words. Or watch your love extinguish in the abyss. Sarah's breath hitched. They were trapped, a net of secrets woven tight around them. The amorphous voice coiled in the back of her mind, demanding she make a choice that felt impossible. Lisa! The scream erupted from her lips. I need you to promise me something. No matter what happens next, don't let it take either of us. What? Lisa's brow furrowed in confusion, but hope sparkled in her eyes like shards of glass. Just please. I'll choose, but not in the way it thinks. Are you sure? No. The figure shrieked, the shadows swirling violently. Yet a twisted resolve surged through Sarah. You will choose a sacrifice. Watch! Sarah shouted, forcing herself to make eye contact with Lisa. We break this game together. The laughter rang deafeningly in the alley as cold realities crashed against them. Choose, Sarah. The entity howled, suffocating them in darkness. The walls seemed to pulse inward, engulfing sound and motion, leaving only the palpable dread of time slipping away. Flashes of memories spun through her mind, each confession. Every moment they shared narrowing down into a singular resolution. No. Answer. The figure roared, shadows slapping like thunder against the ground. I choose nothing. Sarah finally yelled, caverns of despair echoing behind her words. The shadows recoiled, almost flinching at her defiance. In fury, the figure lunged forward. Then watch your world crumble. As the darkness advanced, the ground shook violently beneath them, shadows sweeping up like a tidal wave. Hold on, Lisa screamed, and their grip tightened until it felt like they were linked not just by fingers, but by their very souls, braving the chasm of dread that awaited. And just as the world seemed to implode around them, a blinding flash of light erupted. Pushing at the darkness, was it salvation or destruction? In that moment, an unearthly silence blanketed the chaos. What if they hadn't chosen at all? Would they be unscathed? Or was the price yet to be paid? A voice whispered softly through the remnants of silence. Now the real game begins. The light was so blinding that Sarah squeezed her eyes shut, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. For a few precious seconds, there was nothing but total silence. The weight of the shadows had lifted, replaced by a strange, otherworldly glow. Sarah? Lisa's voice broke through the daze, soft but shaky. Where are we? Are we safe? With a hesitant breath, Sarah opened her eyes. They stood not in the dark alley anymore, but in a stark, white void, an endless expanse devoid of features. She looked around, swallowed hard. I don't know. Did we win? Lisa asked, anxiety dripping from her voice like sweat from her brow. Maybe. But deep down, Sarah felt the gnawing sense of dread, like a shadow lurking just outside the reach of light. Then, they heard it, a low, haunting whisper curling around them from the edges of the void, echoing like a nightmare long forgotten. You think you're safe? The game is only just beginning. Chills raced down Sarah's spine. What does it want now? This isn't over, Lisa whispered. It's just taken a different form. Each word sent tremors through Sarah's bones. The entity had promised darkness, and now, perhaps, it was merely playing with their awareness. We can't trust it, she muttered, the fear hardening into determination. I don't want to play, Lisa said, her hands trembling with uncertainty. We didn't even choose. The void quivered at her words. A piercing silence clamped down, stretching into something far too long, too oppressive. Moments dragged like eternity. Suddenly, the air thickened once more, turning cold and dense. With a crackle that sounded like thunder, a set of large, circular doors appeared before them, merging into the ground, a polished obsidian surface that pulsed with a slow, rhythmic heartbeat. Welcome to round 2, the entity hissed, now materializing as a figure etched against the glossy door. Its form flickered like candlelight, shadows swirling within its core. You must answer questions or suffer. What kind of questions? Lisa asked, panic washing over her. Survival-style questions. The entity laughed, but there was nothing welcoming about its voice. Each word dripped with malice. Your answers hold consequences. And someone will pay the price. What does that even mean? Sarah shot back, her voice cutting with defiance. The choices you make will echo in the void. It replied, an eerie smile stretching across its face. For every survey, one truth reveals itself to seal a fate. One answer curses someone to a spine-chilling death. Sarah stumbled back, the implications hitting her like a punch to the gut. No, we can't do that. You must. The entity crooned, its silhouette blurring like an oil slick. Fail to respond and the darkness claims you both. Fear gnawed at Sarah's gut as she grabbed Lisa's hand, their intertwined fingers a fragile barrier against the dark promise looming before them. We won. Play your game. Ah, but you already have. It grinned, the shadows swirling faster, rising around them like serpent coils. The price can't be undone, and the clock is ticking. What do you want from us? Lisa shouted, desperation slipping into her voice. A soft chuckle echoed, and the door began to pulsate, glowing ominously. Select wisely or watch your bond shatter. Before Sarah could react, the entity thrust one black shard of glass toward them. Your first question. If faced with the choice to save an innocent child or your dearest friend, who do you choose? Sarah froze, her mind racing. It wasn't just a question. It was a twisted invitation to reveal themselves. And with time ticking, the rising shadows whispered threats that made her skin itch, each one a reminder of the stakes. Through love or morality choose. The entity's voice rang crystalline, breaking the silence, amplifying the pounding in Sarah's ears. No, she shouted. We refuse to answer anything. Then disaster breathed swiftly, it sneered, advancing. You'll find no respite here. The torment will consume you both. The glowing door echoed the entity's sinister promise, a reminder that they were shackled to a truth that would never let them escape. Water pressed down on Sarah's heart. Lisa, we need to figure this out fast. But as the entity cackled, shadows framed their bodies like a vice. Sarah realized the essence of their dilemma. Time was not a friend. There's no turning back. Lisa murmured, her eyes wide with dread. We need to prepare, but how? As triumph hung in the balance, laced with terror, the doors creaked ominously. Those answered questions felt more like shackles than salvation. Will this bond withstand the darkness? The voice echoed. Or will it crumble at the very core? With a shiver threading through them, they faced the encroaching void, ready yet terrified. And in that moment, a chilling realization bubbled up within Sarah, a single thought that twisted her stomach further. What if the next question, unbound secrets better left buried? The darkness couldn't hold them captive forever. As Sarah's heart raced, she felt the connection between her and Lisa tighten. An unyielding bond forged through fear, love, and undeniable resolve. But they were still standing at the edge of an abyss, teetering on the precipice of despair. The entity loomed, its presence casting a shadow that threatened to snuff out the light they fought to preserve. Do you believe your friendship is stronger than the terror looming ahead? Taunted, voice dripping with malice. Let us find out, shall we? What do you want from us? Sarah shouted, firming her stance. We'll never play your twisted game. Oh, but you already did. It laughed, and the laughter reverberated around them, mingling with the choking shadows. Now your only hope lies in choosing. The pulsating doors behind them glimmered, and the weight of expectation hung thick in the air. It was a challenge and a threat, laced in one depraved package. Let us get this over with, Lisa whispered, her voice wavering. What's the first question? We can face it together. The shadows shifted closer, whispering dark secrets, but together they stood their ground. The question reappeared on the door, engraved in pulsating light. Who will you save? The innocent child or your dearest friend? Tension sparked like fire between them. The answer seemed simple. To choose the innocent child was a moral high ground. But what of their friendship, of everything they had endured together? A lump formed in Sarah's throat. I can't choose, she breathed, locking eyes with Lisa, desperation pooling at their edges. I can't. But if we don't, it'll consume us both. Lisa insisted, shaking but resolute. We don't have the luxury of time. What if it doesn't matter? What if this choice is just a trick to tear us apart? The shadows writhed, leaning closer, swirling like ravenous wolves. Choose wisely, or perish together, the entity crooned, its voice haunting. Who decided that friendship and loyalty would collapse under such pressure? Sarah protested, frustration roaring in her chest. This isn't right. Neither is this. Lisa shouted in return, fear spilling over into anger. If we want to survive, we have to choose something. Sarah felt the intense heat of Lisa's clasp around her hands. I'm here with you. Together, Sarah echoed, each word tangible as it hung in the air. Together they gazed into the shadows, firming their grip, both knowing they had to take a stand. Time is nearly up. Your answer? A heavy silence enveloped them. The weight of the question bore down like a crushing wave. Who would be left standing if we chose the child? Sarah's voice barely broke through the thick atmosphere. If we forsake the bond we built? It felt like a slow-motion explosion. We need each other. We turn against ourselves. Then proclaim it. The entity screeched, a violent rush sending shadows clawing toward them. Defy the darkness. Choose. Together, Lisa breathed. We should save each other. Is what we've always done. Yes, together. Then that is our answer. The dam burst. As if responding to Sarah's declaration, the pulsating doors vibrating with an unholy rage began to shatter, light streaming through the cracks. The shadowed bearings surged forward, powering toward them like a storm desperate to extinguish their light. The darkness collided with their certainty and exploded, illuminating the void with blinding brightness. The walls shook, and shadows spiraled about them. The air crackled with tension as the figure's laughter twisted into howls of agony, disintegrating into fragments of despair. Together, they stood tall, watching the chaos erupt with their unified strength pushing back against the entity's grip. But even as the light cascaded, the shadows flared in a final effort to seize them. I can't feel it, Lisa shouted, tears bathing her cheeks. Are we really okay? We are, Sarah shouted back, their connection pulsing with newfound vigor. Together, with an explosive surge, the darkness recoiled, rippling outward and finally shattering into shimmering dust. The void spun around them, contorting until Sarah and Lisa landed hard against the cool, familiar ground. Panic clutched their hearts for a moment, breathless as they took in their surroundings. They found themselves back in the alley. The cafe glimmered in the distance, rain tapping softly against pavement. Did we do it? Lisa whispered, looking around frantically, disbelief painted across her features. I think we broke free. As Sarah's heart fluttered with hope, a familiar warmth enveloped her, like a long-awaited reunion with a long-lost friend. But then, just as they relished the victory, a low hum echoed through the air like a distant drum. Neither could shake the sense that the darkness was always watching, always waiting. What now? Sarah asked, glancing around. The app? Lisa whispered, her voice trembling. Is it really over? Before she could respond, the screen of Sarah's phone flickered back to life in her pocket, pulsing ominously. New question incoming, it whispered, echoing like the rush of water over stones. Hand in hand, they stood resolute, ready to face the unknown. Together they would fight. Together, they could confront whatever shadow lurked next. Whatever it is, we'll choose together, Sarah affirmed, squeezing Lisa's hand tight. No matter what. And in that moment of connection, a flicker of hope ignited anew, fueling their spirit as they readied themselves to face whatever the darkness sent their way next. Because together, they were unstoppable. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And don't forget share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support.